Yahoo! Back again, and we've got another. I don't know if this is an opening and unboxing. We already opened it. Check out the last video where we got this Stylin QB knife that reminds me of a letter opener, and well, this isn't a letter, but it opened it. This is my version of the letter, you know. So this guy, I plan to put some magnets on the clip here, on the Kydex holster. Have that next to my desk. Slap that on there. Anytime I need to open something, just pull her out, put her back in. Don't know, like, they labeled this as an everyday carry. I think more for the look. Yeah, it's an EDC look. A lot of people don't even know what EDC stands for. And it does. It's got that vibe. Really like the Ultim and the full shank with exposed tang. Or full tang with exposed shank. I don't know. Pick which one you want there. Just vibing. So this is gonna be my letter opener, essentially. Just I don't know if the brand's all that good. A lot of their knives seem to be more looks over function or form. But I especially like this one. Instagram got me again, and this was actually an ad. A lot of the Instagram things that get me are actually other people posting things on Instagram and me being like, "What that I want." In this case, it was an ad, and I guess they hit me square in the crosshairs. If that's probably wrong. The wrong idiom. I think that's an idiom. I might be using idiom incorrectly as well. So I picked this up, but we already sliced this bad boy open. It's from the Bay of Ease, eBay, the bestest, highest end Bay of Ease, and actually originated from Japan. However, I can't even get it for a reasonable price out of Japan. It turned out somebody selling this used in the U.S. So I don't know if they did what they needed to do and then ditched it. I just got to thank you. Some of these I've seen go as high as 100 buccarinos. You know. Oh. Trying to be a little bit careful because I don't want to cut through the. Really? Am I gonna have to sharpen this? It feels plenty sharp. Yeah. Well, let's see. Just to make sure this blade's not crazy. Here is the brand new Tuck XL in titanium with a carbide utility blade. Yeah, look at that. It just goes right through. We'll have to test on some other boxes. It would suck if I have to sharpen a brand new knife, but especially for how much this was, like 80, and the one slip joint I really like is as low as 40 for a G10 blade, and this is a much cheaper blade. It's a 14 C28N, which is apparently like a decent budget steel, but like it's got a decent edge. Not going this way on the tip though necessarily. If you have slightly calloused fingers, you can very easily feel that. Here we go. Pretty pumped about this. This is LOSTAGE PILGRIM. They only release these they run a record store. You can buy it in their record store. I think their friend's record store. And that is it, or when they tour. And they purposely did that. They even acknowledged people reselling these for significant additional money on Mercari. This, however, and I actually tried to buy one there. I have a feeling it looks like after they said stuff. Now, this was quite a while ago, but after they said stuff, yeah, you can definitely see this is used. It's got some marks on it, not scratches, just marks. They called people out for like reselling them for, you know, like additional cost, that sort of stuff, and Let's see what this is. For all the pilgrims. Whoa. Looks like a business card or a name badge holder here. Also all in Japanese. I'm thinking these are lyrics, high fidelity, that's the name of the track. Yeah, that's my guess at least. Yep, track list. So that's how they chose. When you make it yourself and you print it yourself, you can be about as niche and artsy as you want. So I'm just happy I got my hands on it. This is actually used already in the US. I don't remember what it went for. Let's just say $50 maybe. And realistically, for a CD coming from Japan, $50 is not the worst in the world. Because $30 in Japan for a CD is not uncommon. And then you gotta pay probably minimum $15 to get that thing shipped if you're just getting it. That's why normally you'll see me guys using, when I use forwarders, they give you 30 days to consolidate your items. And normally I take that full 30 days to try and get anything I might want else. So I just have to pay one shipping fee instead of multiple. And yes, obviously, the bigger the item and the more items you consolidate, the more shipping gets. And some of them do charge money to consolidate because they're opening your packages to put them in a bigger box, like a single bigger box. Some don't though. It really depends on what it is. Also, they can inspect your stuff, all that sort of stuff, you know. But you know, $50 for a CD is not the end of the world by any stretch of the imagination. So, especially for one that was only sold either in person at their record store or at a concert. So more than likely somebody paid to import this in the US and then didn't want it or didn't need it for some reason. Maybe they ripped it and that was fine for them. Yeah, let's see here. Not bids and offers. I want purchase history. Yeah, after shipping, because there was shipping in the U.S., which is kind of annoying, but whatever. I can understand it because I charge shipping too. It was $63. So, like I said, I think just for some of these we're going for. It'd be 5,000 yen, which is $50 prior to the yen tanking. Which is a significant upcharge over, you know, what they had. And this is just parchment paper. Like, they did all this themselves, as far as I can tell. The thing that they would have had pressed is the LOSTAGE PILGRIM thing here. Even then, it's very simple. It's just white. This is just parchment paper. Like, I can even feel that. Like, that's probably laser printed parchment paper. And the LOSTAGE PILGRIM on the front is literally a sticker. And you're like, how do you know that this isn't a knockoff? Well, I know for a fact they made them themselves. They're only selling them. Like, this isn't. See, it's Throat Records. That's their own record label. And that's why it's missing a lot of you know, like a lot of the labels you normally see on there. So it's kind of budget, and they purposely did this way. They said this is not going to become available like generally nationally, like as in like Japan nationally, even as a CD to buy until they're done touring the Pilgrim like album, right? Because they want people to come and listen to it, and they want the first time they hear it to be live. Now, obviously, I am many thousands of miles away. I think that's how that works. Yeah, because it's on the other side of the world, like 12 to 13 hours away, depending on daylight savings. So that's not happening anytime soon. So I wanted to get one. I would have bought one off of Mercari. They were pretty much not on there, and then I was just searching around to see if I can find one on other stuff, because there's like Yahoo Auctions, there's Rakuten something, Rakuten or something like that. They have a sales part where I got one of the Number Girl live album from that I've been trying to get for a while. And this ended up being on eBay in the U.S. nonetheless. I have no idea why. It's one of those things where you just don't ask questions too much. You know, they already imported it. They save you time and money. Think about it that way. Purchase history. Yeah. Yeah, it just says super rare tour only CD bought during my trip to Japan this summer. Their best effort yet. I have no idea why you would sell a super rare. I don't know. Like the guy knows what it is and obviously bought it. I don't know why you would buy it and then ditch it. Like I said, maybe he thought he could make some money because some of these were going over $100, especially ones that were already in the U.S. At one point. So maybe, he'll buy it, rip it, depending on where he uploads to. I'm surprised I haven't seen it then. Because that's why I bought it. If you guys are wondering, the main reason why I buy CDs is because I can't get it any other way. That's the only reason I'm going to buy a CD. Some of them are limited in the way that like the stuff that comes is really cool and whatnot. And if I'm going to buy a CD and while they're importing it, I'm going to buy a CD. But yeah, rather surprised that if you went there, bought this on your trip there, that you would sell it. But hey, I have it now. It was ready in the U.S. I didn't have to, buy it used, go through a buyer, because a lot of the auction sites, talked about before, I do have a phone number. I do not have a Japanese credit card though. And a lot of them, once, like, I've had them literally go completely through the processing, and then it's like, yes, it's international. And they'll fully process it because they have to do that to figure that out. And they'll be like, no. I'll be like, you were 99% of the way there. Just charge me. It will pay you in yen. You don't have to worry about it. And they're like, no. And I'm like, Japan just does not want non-Japan money, it seems like, which is how they work. I've tried to jump through so many hoops. And I don't know how long you have to be there to get a credit card, but I believe to get a credit card, you have to have a Japanese bank account. To get a Japanese bank account, you need to live there. I think even just getting like a cell phone plan, you can't have less than X number of months left on the plan. I think that's to avoid people who are there on tourist visas, which is 90 days, 3 months, from getting this stuff while they're there, getting it and then leaving. You're like, how did you get said thing? Great question! Oh, about the CD. Yeah, I can't wait to rip this. I still do not have my CD player. Moondrop has still not shipped their dedicated CD player. So if any of you out there know, because it's a handheld CD player, I still kind of want it. It looks freaking awesome. But I realistically want a transport. What that is that's basically just the drive, and it shoves out the stuff digitally, like via SPDIF or digital coax, so then I can go into my DX9. So if you guys know of a CD transport, somebody brought, but one of the companies, I think, I don't even remember which one it is, but one of the companies brought back one of their 5-disc CD changers that you can get brand new. Everybody's like, oh, why buy the brand new one? You can buy the used one for like cheap, wherever, because it's like $300 or something. Might go that route if I have to, because then 5 CDs isn't bad. People are making fun of it as a joke too, because they're like, oh, it has this feature where it holds on the CD and then you can change the other one. I'm like, yeah, that's been a feature since the 90s. It's the same product page as the old ones. It's just they actually make it again. Okay, that's the big thing, is you can buy it new and buy parts for it. So I might go that route, but otherwise I realistically just need a single disc transport. I already got this Rose right here. This Rose one for ripping. We found out inside there it's essentially a LG Slim Quiet DVD ROM drive, and I actually figured out which chipset this USB controller is, and it turns out it isn't USB 2, despite them putting a USB 2 on there. It may be USB, like the chipset in general is capable of USB 3. Because I was like, where the heck did they find a new SATA to USB 2 that supports optical drives? Because I know, especially slim optical drives, because I know that, if you guys are wondering, most SATA to USB adapters do not support optical drives. They only support hard drives. In the past, I've had to use eSATA to USB, and those support optical drives perfectly. And then you just use a eSATA to SATA cable, and bang, Bob's your uncle. And then I've used internal disk drives as USB drives. I wanted something a little bit cleaner, and that thing's super quiet. Turns out it is like a $50, maybe not 50. 50 would be used market $50, so it's still under $100 disk drive in there, repackaged. It is nice. I do have complaints about it. Check out the video on it. But I want something like that, but for playing them. You know, that's what a transport is it's literally just the disk drive part. It assumes all amplification, everything else is going to happen elsewhere. A lot of the ones coming out now have amplifiers in them, or have this and that in there. I just want, like, poop out the 44.1, you know, stuff via optical or via digital coax, and let me plug it into my DAC amp. And I can switch that input and just play a CD. And you're like, guys, why do you want to, Profosist, why do you want to do that? Well, so when you get this, you can just put it in there. I don't have to rip it. And for something like this, you're like, oh, ripping CDs is easy. Not when it's something rare like this. And you're like, what do you mean? This isn't in any databases. Guaranteed. Almost all the stuff I buy, and I complain about this all the time in Discord, almost all the CDs I buy them because people haven't ripped them, otherwise I would have them. Bing bong, bing bong. So yeah, I have to put all that data in myself. So sometimes when you get a new CD like this, there is something about just when you get it. I get a new record. I have a record, but I just go and I can listen to it while I'm working, or listen. You know, I want to do the same thing with CDs, and they do exist out there. A lot of them are like, seriously, like as much for just a transport though as it is to get one with all the junk in it. Like you can get CD players with like speaker amps in them. Like, why do I want speaker amps in my? No, I have a thing that does that. It's big and glorious and red and glowing and. So that's when I bought the Moondrop CD player. I forget what they call it. But that doesn't have digital out. It only has analog line out, which it can do. It wouldn't be too bad. You know, I will use that. It's fine. But it still isn't shipped. I bought that like I think I pre-ordered it in October. It was supposed to ship end of October. It is now end of January. And I'm like thinking through as I have it. And then it went on sale during Black Friday, but it still wasn't shipping. So how does it go on sale when it's not even out yet? I don't freaking know. Yeah, it's you know, the fact that I still don't have it now. Really considering just like I said, just a transport. If the transport can be used to rip too, that'd be good. But most of them can't. I would love for it to be able to play SA CDs as well, because I have SA CDs, but those are DSD. I have to imagine that jacks the price way up. I think a lot of the SA CD players, like there are very few that still exist that actually do that natively. I know there are Blu-ray players that will do it, and maybe one 4K Blu-ray player. As I do have that, I could use that as a transport. It just looks cheesy and it's way bigger. You know, like a Blu-ray player is like you know, as big as your receiver. I realistically want something as big as the CD thing going this way, maybe plus another CD back here. you know, or the other way around, like the fat way, like that. Here, just pop the single CD in, let her rip. You know, a little bit nicer experience. I can keep it on my desk, sort of thing. Because I do have the Sony Blu-ray players that were out a bit after the PS3. You can also use in a launch original PS3 to play SACDs. It was removed in later versions. I think the second one you can technically play, but you can't do other stuff with it. But they're Blu-ray players that are out around that time, and I purposely bought a used one of those in mint condition off of eBay. And then it turns out Squares actually had one that was compatible. So before that one came in, it took for frickin' ever, and then it didn't have a remote, so I had to get a remote for it. Lovely. I actually used his. Yeah. Turns out he literally owned one, but that one, I'm glad I had bought my own because he actually uses that one, and it has since shit the bed. Because those, like, the ones that could rip this, that you can exploit them by plugging in a USB drive, are actually the cheap ones, so they're like, everything is plastic to hell. Now, you're ripping it all over the network, and it's all coming off, like, straight digital, so you don't really have to worry about that, because if it's going to read it, it's going to be able to be read, sort of thing. There's even less variability than on a CD, because you're reading... when you read a CD as music data, not as data, it is read not just as dots and dashes, and there is actually like correction algorithms and stuff in there. Turns out CD actually kind of complex. DVDs are SACDs use the DVD Bernie bytes in there, because it's over a gig, the data is close together, but it's data. It's actually stored as data. And when you play back an SACD, there's a CD layer, and then there's a SACD layer, which is raw DSD. Or it might be the other way around. I forget where the layers are in the thing, and the laser shines through certain ones. But yeah, so kind of easier to deal with actually, because it's just data in my brain versus... Like, look up the like PS2 thing where there's like a specific wobble for the laser, and that's how they did the copy protection on it. And like you're like, oh, it's super easy to bypass, because what people do is they make disk swap mods, and then one I didn't even know about it, but apparently like one company like got some real discs, but then like spliced them on to not real ones and stuff like that, so that you could do that easier with. The PS2, I think it was Slim, was the best for that. I know a lot of people that in the fighting community had modded ones, so that you could play the Japanese import fighting games. Usually before they came in, or just because that was the preferred version, stuff like that. And also modded games, or hacked, stolen games. But that's super interesting how the wobble, and apparently somebody's finally been able to, with certain model drives, recreate that model and reburn it. It has taken this long to figure that out, though, because you actually had to rewrite the firmware on the drive to allow you to modify the lead-in, because that's how you would burn the wobble is actually before the actual data or music starts. Super interesting, but that's actually like... CDs are actually way more complex than you think, because they're even DVDs in a way. Like if you watch a DVD movie, not like something burned using data, is like this would be a DSD on an SACD, but a DVD movie, yes, it's data on there, but the way that the data is formatted, even it's using MPEG-2, right? But like how it's using anamorphic pixels and that sort of stuff, because you're still displaying it on an analog TV for the most part. It's almost more analog how a DVD works versus like a Blu-ray. A Blu-ray, once you break that copy protection, you can just rip the stuff off, and you don't have to de-analyze. You don't have to 3.2 I mean, some of the early ones you do, but for the most part, like you can just grab it as raw data, kind of like the DSD off of a SACD. Whereas a DVD, there's some stuff in there that's assumed to be happening on your viewing end that doesn't happen like on the DVD itself. So, like for example, the data is actually encoded as 720 by 480 in there, no displays are 720 by 480. It's just not a thing. Except CRTs aren't really resolution either. You know, so it's like a VCD, a video CD is far closer actually in many ways to like something more digital than a DVD is in a way, because that's got it's got like a 240p raw image on there, handled a bit differently. So, but yeah, can't wait to rip this. If you guys know a good CD transport, please let me know, because I would love to be able to, you know, like have this sitting on my desk or under the desk or, you know, next to the DAC or something, and you got cat butt in your way, and just be able to chuck this in and be listening to this already. That I would really love to be able to do it. I already have my dedicated CD ripping drive. It's very expensive, overkill for what it is. It's at least better than the other one that just looks like it's a desktop drive in an external enclosure. Holy hell. I'm one of the only people that have bought that from what I can tell, but it is quality made. Like, it's just, you know, and then you think about it, well, why would they have designed their own drive? That probably would have cost whatever they would have gotten out of there. So, you know, theoretically you could buy the same drives in that is in there and get the same experience. Because in many cases with the CDs, you actually do not want like a Blu-ray drive. That's technically a DVD-ROM CDRW combo, so that's about as close as you're going to get. I do have some just straight CD drives, but those are going to be ATA. They're not SATA. CD-only drives never existed as SATA. So good luck getting that working on a modern system. You're like, oh, I can use an IDE to SATA adapter. Yes, you can, but the whole point of getting the IDE drives is that you can communicate them to a certain way, and that will not work over an IDE SATA adapter. So you're going to have to put an IDE controller in your CD ripping rig. Let me know which ones you remember Plextor. We'll let King Arthur lead you guys out. How's it going, King Arthur? Are you good? And checking out the shipment. I think this came in from California. Thought so.